Hello and welcome to Channel's Book Club. I'm Olakunle Kasumo. It's great to have you on the show again, and we're ready to roll in 2020. But today is all about our top 20 Nigerian books for 2019. Every year we conduct our assessments, consult with friends of this show who are publishers, booksellers, book distributors, viewers, and our social media followers to determine 10 fiction and 10 non-fiction titles to make up our top 20 Nigerian books of the year list. Relevance, quality of content, quality of production, promotional efforts, popularity, and feedback are often things we consider in eventually making up our list. Of course, lists like this are subjective, and different individuals and organizations differ in terms of preferences. But we work hard to ensure that the books that make up our list can, at the very least, be worthy of anyone's consideration for a good read. The books we select are written by Nigerians and published between October of the previous year and December of the current year. So, here are the Channel's Book Club top 20 Nigerian books for 2019.
Nigeria's Soldier of Fortune, The Abacha and Obasanjo Years by Maxillian. This mini-history of Nigeria's life reflects on a cataclysmic decade and three mesmerizing protagonists who personify that era. Moshood Biola, the multi-billionaire businessman who had his election victory voided. General Sani Abacha, the mysterious reclusive ruler under whose watch Biola was arrested. And Olusegun Obasanjo, who emerged from prison to return to power as an elected civilian leader. This book certainly ruffles feathers. Adenike by Adeniyi Tunde. This memoir chronicles the life of Adeniyi Tunde, who is a lawyer and media personality. The story highlights Adenike's life leading up to the amputation of her right leg and after then. But beyond the loss of the leg, this is a story about parental love, the power of dreams, the importance of people, and the opportunity life often veils with challenges.
They're going to find the story of a very playful child, an only child of both parents. A story of growing up with boys all around, being the tomboy. A story of a child that had a favorite parent, my father obviously, because he was the one that would always pamper me. The story of learning the expression of love through my mother's eyes. It took a long while for me to accept, this woman really loved me, because it wasn't, in comparison to my father, it was different. I shared that as well. Adenike's story is also a story of brokenness, a story of trust. It's a story of networking and family. I'm so big on people. I say it all the time. I'm rich in very good people. And it's a story of God. It's a story of purpose. It's a story of vulnerability. I genuinely did hold back on a few things for, decisions that I think are best. Because it's one thing to want to share and then start to hurt other people. And I had to also factor that in. But holistically, I decided that if I would write, I would rather just share everything I want to share. Because it's a journey that I believe very strongly that anyone who picks up this book should be able to relate with at certain points in time. It may not be, a loss as such, but I realize that every single one of us has suffered loss of various forms. And for that particular reason, people can connect with this story. Loss of a loved one, loss of a job, loss of a career, different losses that have occurred. And for that particular reason, I thought, if I can share how through the loss, I was able to have my mind over whatever matter I was going through and have continued to decide that victory is just the only option that I have. And I'm sure that one person who picks up this book can also relate going through their loss. And incidentally, quite a number of people have also, read and have said, I forgot my mom passed from cancer, and I read it and I remember the hospital experiences and it broke me again. And then reading that, unfortunately she lost her battle, but reading that you survive and you're here is just soothing for me to understand. So I figured I would rather just tell the entire story than just hold anything back.
Digital New Code of Wealth by Japheth Omojuwa. In this thought-provoking book, social media expert Japheth Omojuwa argues that the power of technology manifesting in the digital space holds the key to the development of Africa and Africans, particularly in economic and socio-political terms. Despite its many challenges, the benefit of the digital space makes it indispensable for personal and continental breakthroughs in the current and future eras. Entrepreneurship, The Slot Way by Nnamdi. In Entrepreneurship, The Slot Way, Nnamdi shares his unique experiences in building Slot Systems Limited into a successful brand in Nigeria against the odds. The book is candid, inspiring and empowering. Nnamdi's story is the typical start from ground up Nigerian business story.
I am very convinced that entrepreneurship holds the key to wealth creation, value creation, and job creation. And I also believe clearly that in Nigeria, we have so many business owners, all right, more than what we can actually find in most African countries. Okay. All right, so, but the challenge we have is we don't have people who have been able to acquire the necessary knowledge or training that will help them scale up to become entrepreneurs. Okay. Entrepreneurs that will create wealth for the society, entrepreneurs that will create jobs for the society, entrepreneurs that can make life better.
Becoming Nigerian, a guide by Nathan John. This is satire at its best. Nathan John in this book pokes fun at power holders and power itself in the context of Nigeria. It reverses how power is performed, negotiated, and abused in politics, business, religious institutions, and homes. From the exploration of religious hypocrisy to inequality in matters of the heart, the collection is a jab at Nigerian society and what it means to be a Nigerian. The Making of Me by Dele Fajemirokun. For almost 40 years, Dele Fajemirokun has been establishing, buying into and spearheading prominent brands in Nigeria's business landscape. In this autobiography, he reveals his story, experiences in business and relationship with his late father, Chief Henry Fajemirokun, who was regarded as the richest man in Nigeria during his time.
Opportunities are not easy to see.
They are not.
They're not easy to see by an ordinary eye or by reading a book in a terrain, on a circumstance. So that's where I always define people, particularly when journalists are talking, they're talking about businessmen. And I said, I feel very insulted when you call me a businessman. Mm. A cocaine carrier is a businessman. Huh? An armed robber, otherwise known outside, calls himself a businessman. A commission agent calls himself a businessman. Who makes billions by being a friend to...
The word has been abused.
You know, to a minister or a brother to a friend of a brother of a minister or something like that. And you get big contracts and get commission out of it. You didn't create anything. Mm. It's when you create wealth that you are an entrepreneur and you are a businessman. Creating wealth with ideas, conceptualizing ideas, planting it, waiting it until it germinates. Those are sleepless nights I'm talking to you about. Finding an arrowhead, if an arrowhead does not bring the idea. If it brings the idea, it makes it easy. Okay, you run with it, and I will back you up with finance. I'll put this substructure behind you. an accountant, this, so, so, and so, and so, and so. Okay, so you start up on that ground. But without arrowhead, you find an arrowhead. It doesn't matter. It may just be for 5 months. It may be a useless fellow. But it's something you cannot do yourself because you are still doing something else. Mm-hmm. You understand what I mean?
Yes, I do.
So that's what I mean by...
So the entrepreneur is the one who is able to sniff out opportunities.
Is the one that will see opportunity that doesn't run out of his face.
Oyibo came to Africa by Dele Ogun. This book uses gripping illustrations to tell the story of how Europeans and Arabs came to Africa from the mid-15th century onwards with their religion and models of civilization, and how this changed the African way of life. It covers the arrival of foreign religions, the slave trade and abolition, colonization and decolonization, Africa's centrality to the world wars, democracy and military coups. It is captivating literature for young readers. I'm Telling the Truth, But I'm Lying by Basi Ikpe. In I'm Telling the Truth, But I'm Lying, Basi Ikpe explores her life as a Nigerian-American immigrant, black woman, poet, mother, daughter, and artist through the lens of her mental health and diagnosis of bipolar II and anxiety. A remarkable memoir in essays implores her preconceptions of the mind and normalcy as Basi bears her own truth and lies for us all to behold. The Entrepreneur by Olabode Adetoyi. Agriculture entrepreneur Olabode Adetoyi has had a career cutting across various aspects of the agriculture value chain in Nigeria. In this autobiography, Adetoyi tells his intriguing life story, which also turns out to be a handy manual for budding and practicing entrepreneurs. It's a straight-shooting, no-holds-barred, business-focused autobiography.
People can write about me after God has given me a longer life, but this one, I wanted to write it myself so that people can read it, youth can learn about it. My focus is on Nigeria youth because they are the future of Nigeria. I'm reading the entrepreneur, a poor boy from a poor family, that if he doesn't go to the farm, he cannot take a lunch and a dinner. Now, an international man, and of course, I'm comfortable. I won't say...
You're rich.
I'm rich. Let me say. So, if I can achieve that, I believe millions of youths of Nigeria can do more than I did.
From Frying Pan to Fire by Olusegun Adeniyi. This book is about how African migrants risk everything in their futile search for a better life in Europe. Through heartbreaking stories of how war, particularly that of Adeniyi's brother, this book offers insight into the experiences of the ever-increasing number of young Africans diving into the unknown each year in search of greener pastures in other countries.
Fiction titles My Sister, the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite. This novel is sly and full of surprises. Laced with nail-biting violence, it's a riveting, hilarious and dark novel about sister rivalries and staying alive. Oyinkan's explosive debut novel has caught the attention of readers across the world and made her a writer to watch in the coming years. My Sister, the Serial Killer has won the 2019 Rooster Award, the 2019 Anthony Award for Best First Novel, and the 2019 LA Times Award for Best Crime Thriller. The Son of the House by Chilochi Onyemelukwe Onobia. This debut novel won its 41-year-old author the award for Best Fiction Writer at the 2019 Sharjah International Book Fair. It is about the struggles of womanhood and parenting amidst sexual abuse and societal pressure in marriage. These themes and more show up as the lives of two women separated by distance and class collide over a shared trauma. This is a classic example of a writer weaving advocacy and activism into storytelling. Boom Boom by Jude Idada. This children's book by Nigerian writer and filmmaker Jude Idada won the 2019 Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas (NLNG) Prize for Literature. Boom Boom is a novel that explores sickle cell disease as the theme of a story told in the first person through the eyes of a child who grapples with the familiar bonds of love, friendship, loyalty and trust in the face of impending doom.
Boom Boom basically is about sickle cell anemia, writing about that topic from an issue from the perspective of a child. It was inspired first so there are three levels of inspiration. The first level is just that historical perspective of me having lost people, friends, people who were close to me from sickle cell anemia or due to sickle cell anemia. And then on the other level was being, a witness to a friend of mine, Hawa Audu, and what was happening in her life, her being a warrior. A warrior basically is someone who suffers from sickle cell anemia. They don't want to be known as sicklers, so people stop calling them sicklers. Okay, yeah. So then the final level was a friend of mine in Canada who had the AS genotype, and they had gotten this bride for him, this arranged bride stuff in Nigeria, who also had the AS genotype. And at that time, when he was going to take that decision to go ahead with the marriage, after he found out about this situation, as it were.
A Particular Kind of Black Man by Tope Folari. This is an impressive debut novel from the Rhodes and winner of the Cain Prize for African Writing, Tope Folari, about a Nigerian family living in Utah and their uncomfortable assimilation to American life. Tunde, the protagonist in this novel, epitomizes a search for self and meaning in a strange land, where his skin color separates him and his family dynamics challenge him. Of Women and Frogs by Bisi Adjapon. Essie, the protagonist of this novel, is a feisty, health Nigerian girl beating a path to self-actualization in post-colonial Ghana, with occasional visits to her maternal family in Lagos. Her story is skillfully used by Bisi Adjapon to address some of the truly difficult aspects of love and sexuality for girls and women in Ghana. This is a bold book that challenges stereotypes and age-long notions. An Orchestra of Minorities by Chigozie Obioma. A Booker Prize 2019 and Digital Book World Awards 2019 finalist Chigozie Obioma's second novel is a heartbreaking and mythic story about a Nigerian poultry farmer who sacrifices everything to win the woman he loves. Linguistically flamboyant and fast-moving, Obioma successfully crafts an allegory of post-independence Nigeria and the cruelties of the contemporary world. The Small Silence by Jumoke Verissimo. A Small Silence is an intimate and evocative exploration of Nigeria's political history, the alienating effects of trauma, and the restorative power of the dark and silence. It is a lyrical debut novel by Jumoke Verissimo, whose poetry has been translated into French, Chinese, Japanese, Macedonian, and Norwegian. A Small Silence centers on an activist released from prison and an orphaned young woman. Afonia, The Rise by Tunde Leye. Afonia, The Rise is a historical fiction based on the legendary Oyo Empire. It is a succession story that chronicles the clashes of two men, Aole Arogongo, the provincial prince who becomes Alaafin, and Afonia, the powerful provincial chief of war camp Ilorin. The clashes of these two men led to the decline and eventual fall of an all-conquering empire.
Now, what has happened is we've not written about our history from our perspective a lot. What a lot of the writing about history that is available to young people to read today is our history relative to our relationship with the white man. So how did we get colonized? How did we extricate ourselves from colonialism? How did we get our independence? And all of our history is centered around all of these, or slave trade. How did we participate in the slave trade? But what was happening in those kingdoms, excluding the white men? Not a lot of that has been written about. And I realized that there's work to be done in that. So I wanted to write about the Kiriji War. But when I started researching the Kiriji War, I realized that the logical point to start the story of Kiriji was the collapse of the Oyo Empire, because it was what precipitated Kiriji. And Afonia is the person that most Yoruba people blame for accelerating the collapse of the Oyo Empire. So he was just the logical character to write about and tell his story in the way that, I've told it.
Prince of Monkeys by Nnamdi Ehirim. 26-year-old Nnamdi Ehirim, who is based in Lagos and Madrid, boldly tackles politics, religion, class, and friendship in this impressive first novel. Provocative and incisive, this book tackles politics, class, and power as a group of friends come of age in Lagos. The story looks into modern Nigeria and offers unsettling insight into the ways in which we are often at the mercy of powerful forces beyond our control. The Adventures of Lara and Dara. From a movie came this captivating children's book. It's the story of two young sisters and their many life experiences. The book was adapted from the 2018 award-winning film Lara and the Beat. Its executive director, Biola teamed up with writer, lawyer, and history buff Aduke Gomez to write and publish this book that has intrigued many young readers.
I'm pretty sure you will find a number of those books worthy of being part of your reading list for 2020. We would like to know what you think about our list. Please send us your comments or questions through any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. I'm Olakunle Kasumo. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.